another English lesson. So if you watched yesterday's video and you're wondering why I look exactly the same, I filmed both of these lessons on the same day. Also, at the end of the last video, so yesterday's video, I did say a huge thank you to all of you at home. It is such a lovely feeling to know that I am helping so many children and also parents in this tricky time. I am so grateful for every single comment that I get from parents, from children, from people who actually don't have a clue who I am, who have never met me before, but have found these videos through social media or through friends and family. Thank you so much, everybody. It makes it so worth it, and I'm so glad that I'm helping where I can. I will continue to make these videos whether one person watches it or whether 100 people watch. As long as I am helping at least one person, then these videos are more than worth it. Okay, so let's get into today's video. So in today's video, we are going to be writing a letter together. About a week ago, I wrote a letter to my class and I sent them out in the post to them, and they absolutely loved receiving them. It was just nice to have that communication with them and to have something to read to let them know that I am thinking of them. So I thought, what better way in the situation that we are in right now than to write a letter to perhaps a friend, a family member, just to let them know that you are thinking of them, to let them know what you've been up to, because I know that for some people communication can be quite hard in these times. In today's English lesson, we are going to be writing a letter together. It's totally up to you if you want to send this on to them. Okay, so let's imagine that the board behind me is my letter. So that's my piece of paper, and I'm going to be writing a letter to my mum, who doesn't live with me, so I'm not able to see her in this time. So let's just have a think about all of the stuff that we need to include on this letter. Now, when I was at school, my class had focused on letters and we had done a little bit of letter writing. So if you're watching this, think back to those lessons and think back to what needs to be included in our letter. Pause the video here and just make a list of what you think needs to be included in this letter. So how this lesson is going to work is I will go through the structure that you need to set your letter out in, and then I would like you to have a go at writing your own letter. So don't try and write your letter as we're going through the lesson, because it might become a little bit jumbled up and it will make much more sense right at the end of the lesson. The first thing that we need to include in this letter is we need to remember to write who it's from. Otherwise, when that person's reading the letter, they're not going to know who it's from. Where do we write who it's from? Do we write it at the top of the letter? Do we write it at the bottom of the letter? Do we put it in the middle? Whereabouts do we put it? Good, we put it at the bottom of our letter. So we sign it off with who it is from. Here is a challenge question for you. If we know the person that we are writing to, do we put yours sincerely or do we put yours faithfully? So when we know the person, we put yours sincerely. Well done if you got that right. If you don't know the person who you are writing to, you put yours faithfully. We are going to be writing letters to people that we know, unless maybe a nice idea might be that you might write a letter to your local care home or to the local hospital, or you might want to write a letter just thanking those people who are working extremely hard in these times. If you are writing to somebody who you don't know, you are putting yours faithfully, and if you're writing to somebody that you do know, you're putting yours sincerely. Or if you are writing to a friend or a family member, you might just want to put from. But for the purpose of this video, I am going to put yours sincerely. So I've signed off my letter here. Now we've said who it's from, so now what do we need to put? What else do we need to put in our letter? Good, we need to put who we are writing it to. Does that go at the top? Does it go in the middle? Good, it actually goes, so we also need to include 2 addresses in our letter, and it just sits below the second address, and it always goes on the left hand side of your paper. So I'm going to just put mine here, ready for my 2 addresses over there. Dear, and then remember I'm writing to my mum, so I'm going to go, dear mum. comma. So dear mum, comma. So that's who I'm writing it to, and this is who it is from. So I've just mentioned that we need to put 2 addresses. Whose addresses do we need to put on this letter? Hopefully my class are shouting at me now because we have done this. You need to put your address and you need to put their address. Why do you need to put their address? Because that is where you are sending the letter to. Why do you need to put your address on there? So you need to put your address on there so that they know where to send their response letter to, okay? So they need to know your address so that they can send their reply to you. If you didn't put your address on there and they didn't know it, they wouldn't know where to send the letter to, would they? This is how the addresses should be laid out. Now, how I remember is I always remember it with who I am writing the letter to. Their address needs to go above, so they need to be matched together like a jigsaw puzzle. So they need to be put together. Okay? Now, I'm not going to write my mum's address on here. I'm just going to put my mum's address. Okay, so I'm just going to put my mum's. So my mum's address, and remember when you're writing an address, it's not one long sentence. It all depends on where they live. But for example, you need to put the house number and then the street and then whereabouts they live, and then it could be their county, and then it needs to be their postcode. Okay, so they all need to be on different lines. So you're gonna put my mum's address, then skip a line and then put dear mum. My address needs to go in the top right hand corner. So above here, right up in that corner. So I'm just going to put my address. I'm not actually going to write my address. Needs to go up there. Okay, so up in the right hand corner needs to be your address. Then you need to go over and then write their address, dear mum. And then we've got yours sincerely, Miss R. Now, we need to then write the middle of the letter. So the middle of the letter. What needs to be included in the letter? Have a think about it now. Pause. What do we need to include in this letter, maybe? So we need to look at the reason, why are we writing the letter? What do we want to include in this letter? What do we want to tell that person? Remember, this is your way of telling them that maybe you miss them or that you want to communicate with them or asking them how they are. In letter, it's a really good idea to ask questions. Then that means that the person who you're writing to is more likely to reply to you if you're asking them questions. So I'm going to start off my letter by saying, dear mum, I really miss seeing you at the moment. And then I'm going to say, how are you? How are you? So there's me asking her a question. How are you? Because then when she replies, it's more likely that she's going to tell me how she is, and then it gets a conversation flowing. I really miss seeing you at the moment. How are you? And then I'm gonna go on to tell her what I have been up to while in lockdown. The people who are receiving your letters are gonna love knowing what you have been up to because they're not with you at the moment, and people who you care about and care about you will really want to know what you have been up to recently. So, how are you? I have been really busy making videos for YouTube, because that is what I've been up to. And then you could go on to say, I have also been doing this, and you can list then all of the things that you have been up to. So I've been really busy making videos for YouTube. Now I'm running out of space here. You guys have got a whole piece of paper at home to write exactly what you want to tell them or what you want to ask them, but I'm just going to put on here as well another question. I'm going to ask my mum what she's been up to, because I'd love to know what she's been up to as well. So I'm going to put, what have you been up to? I've asked 2 questions there so that when my mum replies, she can tell me 1, how she is, and 2, what she has been up to. You may also want to ask more specific questions related to the person that you are writing to. That is totally up to you. Try your very hardest to add in as much information as you can. So from our last videos, or a couple of videos ago now, remember to expand your sentences with conjunctions, or maybe you could include some preposition in your letters. I am intrigued to know exactly what you put in your letters. Now, like I said, if you want to send these to the person that you are writing them to, then by all means do so, but make sure that you ask a parent's permission, because you will need to have a stamp, and I'm sure that you will also need to know their address. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm sure the person who is going to be receiving your letter is going to be very, very happy to have heard from you. See you tomorrow for your follow-on maths lesson.